Spell your name, Bullock Experience.
Yeah, Bullock.
Well, I'm subscribed about the notifications. I don't know why.
It's fine. It's YouTube for you anymore.
Are we live already?
Yep, we are live.
Oh, well, I sit here.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Bullock Experience on What Is in Your Tackle. We are doing a Q&A series, and this week's is old school tactics and how to read your environment to let you know when the fish are starting to move and the bait is starting to move. So today's guest, we have Patriot James Catfishing of America, and then we have Mr. Danny Stone Outdoors. Welcome, gentlemen.
I appreciate you inviting me to come in.
No problem at all. No problem.
See if we can't share up some good info for the people.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
What you playing with there, Danny?
I'm couch fishing.
Is that Black Betty?
No, this is an old reel I've had for years. It's a PN 309, and
Ooh.
man, this thing is on a Senator. This was heavy duty, buddy. It's got the ball bearing rollers in there, and the tip of it. If I got a firm, get in there. Let me get it where it's showing there. That's got a ball bearing tip on the end of it.
Right. I hear you.
Nice. I haven't seen one of those in forever.
Yeah, I've got an old reel like it that y'all seen on some of my videos. My grandpa's old reel, and I tried like crazy, and I finally caught an old flathead on there, and realized that the daggum drag system must be about wore out on there, because I thought I was going to have to hand pull him in because the drag system was slipping on there. But at least I can say I finally caught a catfish on my grandpa's old reel.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Well, drag don't slip on this one. You can pull a truck with it.
Yeah. Well,
so
Kelly, you can offer everybody. We got a fishing show and one of the old Chinese kung fu shows, because Daddy's got a delay in his mouth, so it looked like a Chinese kung fu show.
Lord have mercy.
Hey, Danny, say Godzilla.
Godzilla. Godzilla. Godzilla.
Oh, Lord.
What's that lagging?
Oh, we're going to have fun tonight, looks like.
Well,
absolutely.
If you don't talk about a bunch of electronics and stuff, I'm just along for the ride anyway, because I don't know diddly squat about none of that stuff.
Well, that is the point of tonight. We are getting away from electronics. I don't want to talk about electronics. I want to talk old school.
Okay.
I want to talk about how to read the waters, how to read your environment. And one thing me and James has been talking about is reading the blooming of certain plants and trees and buds and stuff, and knowing when the time is right to go fishing.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. You want me to start on any of that?
Go for it. Any of it.
Okay. Well, I don't know about every state, how many states. In the state of North Carolina, we are allowed to use game fish as bait, as long as they're caught with hook and line, and you count them as part of your creel, and there are legal limits, the legal length and size. With that being said, here in North Carolina and South Carolina, what we always done for crappie is when you seen the dogwood trees the blooms starting to bud open, getting ready to bust open, we knew that the crappie were headed for the banks. Mm-hmm. And usually for largemouth bass, we would you would start looking for other signs. There's called a winter honeysuckle, which usually will bloom. It'll start blooming in February. It's some of the first blooming plants. Your daffodils, when they start blooming, then you usually know that the largemouth bass are headed to the beds, because largemouth usually go first. And if you in waters that chase the flathead catfish, to me, that tells me that I need to go shallow. I need to look for flathead catfish headed towards bedding areas. That means, guys, that we need to learn more about our bait, because we've learned a lot about the catfish. But certain baits, yeah, you go catch catfish year round on one bait if you choose, like the white perch. I know a lot of guys, they use that one bait year round. But to me, and I might be wrong, and I can be corrected, I don't mind being corrected, is that I think that you can increase your catch and maybe the weight of fish if you pay attention to what is spawning at that time. I don't know if many of you have ever noticed, if you go to like a farm pond when the brim are spawning, you can smell that water. There's a difference in the smell.
It's like a musky, kind of like a musky smell in it.
Yes, and you know good and well the catfish hone in on that real quick.
Yeah.
We got 19 people in here. Everybody, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Share if you want to. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Let's get this information out there. This is going to be some good information tonight, guys.
Yep.
Let's get Kelly's numbers up there where he needs to be. Let's get him to 1,000 as fast as we can. He's doing a good job. Thank you, Kelly, for what you do. Mr. Danny Stone, he's with the Catfish family now. And Mr. Stone, we do welcome you in because everybody has a point of view of things.
Yeah.
I don't know where Danny's at, and I don't know where you're at, Kelly, but y'all's time of year might differ. Y'all might go chasing the crappie before the dogwoods ever start blooming, or you might not even have dogwoods in your neighborhood. But, you know, there's things that we can pay attention to that will give us hints of what and when things are going to the beds.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I've got a dogwood right outside my house, right beside my house. It hasn't started anything on it, but if I look out in certain parts of my yard, I've got buttercups already blooming.
Yeah.
And that tells me that there's already some of it starting to move now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's smart. The largemouth bass should be headed to the beds.
Yeah.
We got 22 people in here. You want to shout out?
22 people here. Yep. Let's shout out some people here. We got my neighbor Ethan Warren in here. He's just right across the street from me. There's Mr. Don R. There's Mr. Chris Hustleton, Mr. Indiana Chris. There's Catfishing with Cause. Rattle Trap, what's going on, buddy? Haven't seen you in a while. Appreciate you coming in here. There's Miss Nina Kayaking Crew. Miss Nina took out Freddie this weekend.
Yes, there's downtown Ernie Brown and Mike Irvin. Catfish Fever.
There's Chucky Morgan.
351 Cleveland. I love that name for some reason.
Yep. There's Mr. Jello.
Mr. Morello.
Mr. Sir Fins. Mr. Sir Fins Elliott is in the house. He's one of my closest neighbors around here.
I hear you. There's the Morello families. There's Laughing Cats.
Yeah.
Oh, great people, man.
There's Lynn from Catfish Fever and Outdoors.
Annette Morgan.
Annette Morgan.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
Mike's Fishing Home. Appreciate you sharing it out, man. I know you're busy with work and stuff, getting ready. So appreciate you coming in and hanging out for a little bit while you're doing that.
Catfishing with Cause.
Yep. There's Living in Outdoors. What's going on, Daniel?
There's Surfing. Seen that name in here in a little while. Rattle Trap.
26 people. Yep.
That is this time of year. I love the rattle trap. When I was a heavy bass fisherman, I'd throw that big 3/4 ounce Fire Tiger, that bright lime green, yellow, and red Fire Tiger. And people say, you ain't gonna catch nothing on that, because I would throw it as hard as I could, as far as I could, and I would rip it right under the surface of the water. You should be able to see a ripple on top of that water. And
skips. Yeah.
Yeah,
There's Brian B. Catfishing.
That is the only bait I've ever caught 2 largemouth on one bait more than once on. There's a Lisa Elliott.
That's my sister Lisa Elliott down there with Mr. Aaron Regulators. She caught her big PB this weekend.
I hear you. Yeah, there's Miss Nina. Hey, Miss Nina. Quiet Man Curtis.
Yep, that's Mad Catter.
Odd names that people come up with. I love it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like that one that comes in there. What is it? Catman 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the name of my first boat. Was Catmandu.
Yeah. So what, Danny? What do you kind of look for, kind of old school while they tell you kind of how fish are moving on you?
Well, I generally just go by times of the year and water temperatures a lot of times. Like I love fishing the pre-spawn for catfish. So you're not gonna get me much out on bass and crappie. Do it every now and then, but man, I'm strictly a cat man.
Oh yeah.
And I look for the pre-spawn for them to be moving up into especially the flatheads. They move up into the channels and you'll find cutbacks in the bank.
Yeah.
And look for that right there. And most of the flatheads I'm finding in the shallower waters in those cuts. And with the bank cuts with the root wads and stuff, if you got a fallen tree, which I mean, you guys have all heard this 1,000 times from Tim Scott and God knows who else. So, as far as reading the water, I mean, if you want to talk about reading water, I mean, for deep holes like where I'm looking for flatheads and stuff, the way it works for me on Mississippi River, if I see water that's moving really fast, and then you see it slows down all of a sudden and you see ripples again, then you know there's a deep hole there. That's basically the way I've got to read the river. I don't do all electronic crap.
Yeah. Now, you look for signs on the sides, like what we're talking about. Do you look for signs like for the budding and stuff like of different trees and plants to help you, or no?
Well, not really. I mean, because I mean, I know that to be fact. I know like with the dogwood thing and everything for the crappie and stuff, but I don't do much crappie fishing. But yeah, see, all the guys around here, they're all about when the dogwoods hit, man, you see them out there after them.
Yeah.
But I really wasn't pertaining to going crappie fishing as too much as to finding the location. You find those big bedding areas, I promise you, you're going to find flatheads.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 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 It's basically what we're talking about is like you look at for the budding of the plants, the trees, and you look for that bait moving.
Yeah.
That bait moving coming up is going to bring in that bigger fish. It's going to bring in that flathead. It's going to bring in that channel. It's going to bring in that blue into those spots where the crappie, the bass, they're all spawning. Bluegills are spawning. So that is where you're going to be looking for those spots, the bedding spots, the spawn spots.
Right.
See, on the Mississippi River, that'd be difficult to do because where I'm at, you don't find any shallower spots where you would find bass, crappie, and bluegill spawning. I mean, they're not going to be out that main river in that channel, which where I fish the majority of the time. But if you go back up in the tributaries where it goes back up like a wing dam, there's a spillway dam there, and there's a backflow up into this. It's almost like a field that's flooded out, and you go through there in a boat, gently paddling through there, and you'll see bluegill beds everywhere up there. And as soon as you start dropping off that deeper water, there's been times I've been pushing that John boat with a pole because it was so shallow. And man, I'd poke a flathead and you thought you hit an alligator because those things are waiting right out there, right where that flat drops off into a deeper hole. And they just stay go back and forth around those beds. But it's too shallow for them to get up in there on those bluegill and stuff. But they'll hang out down there. And sometimes at night you can go down and you can hear them splashing trying to get up in there. But Mississippi River is a whole different ball game. There's not a whole lot of spots where you'll find bluegill beds, crappie beds, bass beds. Not in my area anyway.
Well, like coves and creeks, things like or look for also places in a deep bend. where the water is going to hit the side and it's going to dig out a spot to make a eddy spot. There's where you're going to get into and look for places like that.
Yeah, it's what you was talking about. So you knew by experience that if you go up in there at spawning times, you like you said, you've hit catfish on the head with your poles poling back out.
Right.
You know, to me, I would set up probably in the deeper water and throw my baits, maybe one or two up on the top, up there where they can barely get to, and then drop them all along the deeper as it goes to try to catch them in their transition. Because if they there for a reason, and that's to eat.
Yeah, we've actually used that tactic. We've actually pulled the boat, go across the flat and go out there past that drop off.
Yeah.
And you anchor up there and you'll throw back up into the flat with a cut bait and drag it back. And as soon as it drops off in there, man, a lot of times you'll get flatheads hit it like a bass, man.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
one thing we also talk about is, I mean, we can get into, I know, James, you talk about a lot, is mussel beds.
Yes. Yes.
So kind of go over a little bit about the tactic on the mussel beds a little bit for us.
Well, you know, I've noticed over the years that usually after spawn, you will catch catfish and their belly will be loaded full of mussels. You can hear them clanking in there, and sometimes, like old Dieter showed, their old tail will be hanging out where they've been extruding the daggum shells. Usually that's after spawn, and if you really think about it, like, you know, my biggest one I caught was 44 pounds. Yeah, that's not a huge catfish, but I caught her right after spawn. She had nothing in her belly. She is beat up. You could tell she was almost lethargic, I guess, from being hungry. But mussels are easy food. High protein, easy for them to get. They can go down there and scoop them up and spit out the mud and swallow them whole, and then their body will extrude them. And I always changed over to a smaller baits when I started seeing those mussels float during the summertime. When you see it looks like little puffs of cotton all over the water, that is a killer time, especially for people that like using stink bait for channel cats and stuff like that. That is the perfect time. But if you're coming down the water or if you're bank fishing and you come across a spot that the bank is just covered in shell, I promise you, there's a mussel bed real close to you. Real close.
Oh, yeah.
And that can tell you a lot.
Well, see, Harold, like the whole bank that I fish along Mississippi River around New Madrid, I mean, they've got those huge wash, the rocks up there to keep erosion down. They're granite rocks all down through the bank, or sandstone, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
But they've got the zebra mussels now, which is an invasive species.
Yeah.
And when that water comes up and stays up for a long time, when it goes down, those things are all over the entire bank for as far as you can see. I mean, there's not an area that they're in. I mean, they're everywhere.
Right.
And when that water drops down and those things start dying and the sun is stinking, man, those catfish really light up. To me, because everybody talks about the water coming up, they like to fish high water. I'm just the opposite. I like low water. I like drought conditions. It pushes the fish into more concentrated areas. And whenever those mussels start dying and putting that stink everywhere, those things are really, they'll get fired up and start hitting everything.
Yes. And what Sunfish Assassins are talking about, shell crackers are notoriously known for eating mussels, hence the name. Exactly right. So when these fish are hungry, right after spawn, those shell crackers are down there eating. And I mean, they like us when we get concentrated on that big old juicy steak that we've been waiting on for a month. You know, we got our focus, we got our blinders on to that big piece of steak, and the shell crackers are the same way. Those flathead blues, they will sit down there. The flatheads will be there to eat the bait. The blues will be there to eat mussel and whatever else comes into their mouth. But guys, use what nature will tell you what she wants. And it's all of how much attention you're going to pay to it. All right, guys, we got 37 people in here. Go in there and hit them thumbs up and share it out. And another thing that I like looking for is I pay a lot of attention to bait. shad will make quite a few runs during spring, summer, and fall.
Yep.
Well, they usually run north or they run up into the backs of creeks. Follow the bait. Now, Dieter has said it numerous of times. If you go in there and there's bait every freaking where, then you might not want to fish right there in them. You might want to pull out to the less concentrated areas where they're migrating from and to, and catch those fish that are hungry coming in there to feed. Now, with that being said, if you happen to look on your graph and you seeing those bait balls busted up and big arches up in them, by all means, put your baits down. Those are actively feeding fish.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, springtime can tell you a lot. Fall can tell you a lot. Some people said they'd rather fish in the fall than they had the spring. I just like to fish. I don't care what time it is.
Well, there's a good question by Thomas from Laughing Cats. He said, is it possible to find mussel bed on sonar?
I think if you would learn sonar enough to pay to up the sensitivity, you might have to be able to change your color palette to be able to see them. But I think that you might be able to do that, especially like if you're watching the bottom as you're coming up, and then all of a sudden you see a change in the hardness of it. But it seems like that I've never really tried to find it by using sonar, but I don't see why you couldn't. It's something that you'd probably have to learn. But the easiest way, if you suspect it's there, drop your anchor down and pull it back up and smell it. If it stinks, then you're probably on a mussel bed.
Yeah.
Because I promise you, I pulled up my anchor one day, and also I was doing something else. I won't explain that here because I don't want many people to know. I'll tell y'all after the show's over. But when I pulled it up, it was just gummed up with nasty rotten mussel cells, and it about make you gag. But I didn't know there's a mussel bell, and it was right in the main river channel, but it was where Big Creek come in and joined that river channel. And it was huge. And by Navionics said it was 36 feet right there. But when I looked at my graph, it was only saying that it was 24 feet. So that means that there was 12 foot of old mussel bed right there where it had sealed it in, the mussels had built up, and it was that deep of rotten, stinking mussels.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
and it's like Big Mike said. It said just walk around your banks. If you're seeing shells everywhere across your banks, there's always some mussel beds close by. Always.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different things that, you know, like Danny's, he's fishing river. I'm a lake fisherman, so there's probably a little bit of things, but at the same time, bait is bait, catfish or catfish. They all want the same thing. They want to mate and reproduce. They've got to eat. Some of them want shelter more than others. Some of them are more open water, you know. But once you realize fish don't think like we do. They want to reproduce, they want to eat, and they want to be protected. You know, but once you get to be a 50-pound catfish, I don't guess you got too many threats in the water. You don't have to worry about nobody messing with you.
Yeah. It's like George with Sunfish. He said, if you fish small river where the river goes up and down a lot, look for mussel beds when the water is really low, and remember those places.
Yep.
Especially that's what we call winter pulling. If you got that winter pulling, that water drops really low. That's the best time to really look for your spots. Look for your sheltered spots, big openings underneath rocks and stuff like that, where they're gonna want to get up in there, especially when the water's up.
Well, and that's also a good time for people that has these drones. Send them drones up. Get some video pictures and video of that waters, because I rely a lot on Google Earth and I started it back when I gold mined a whole lot, looking at rivers. You can actually go on Google Earth and you can go back in the timeline. And if you go back in the timeline, you can find those times of drought and stuff like that. Well, what better way to mark your pools than when the river's at its lowest? You will find those deep pools and stuff because it'll be the only thing that's got water left in them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and that's right, Chris. India and Chris, you said except for when the rivers freeze up, like they do where he's at.
Yeah,
I mean you do have those little problems there when they freeze up, but
Chris, does that water freeze up so much you can't get? I mean, not enough that you can get on it, or can you get on it to do ice fishing? Yeah, hold on 1 second. I'll be right back.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of feedback here. Hold on, guys. Yeah, Thomas. Yeah, start making them waypoints. Yeah, see that's what I did a while back. I was on Lee Evans live, and I was walking down the banks, and I was actually making every time I saw a big rock shelter area, I was actually making points on Google Map everywhere I was going. So I know where those spots are at, so I can get back to them later on.
See that? It's a little bitty GPS, handheld GPS. You can put all your waypoints. You can put all kind of information in this little thing right here. Mine's full of gold maps. But you fishing too, and guys that bank fish or even boat fish, if you like Danny talked about, he don't really care that much for electronics. This right here is simple to use. You can put in your, like Danny, where you was talking about those shallow spots that drop off into the water. Well, if you out there messing around one day and ain't really fishing, what you can do is take this little GPS and mark it exactly. And then when you come up to fish it next time, you won't have to disturb those fish. You can set off from them, anchor down, and you'll know exactly where to put your baits at when it's time to fish. Yeah. These little things come in handy, guys and gals. And they're not really expensive, and they will pay for themselves in the long run. Is that feedback coming from me?
I was going to try to figure out here.
Here, wait a minute. Let me turn this tablet off and see if it changed. I was trying to watch chat. Did that stop it?
No, it's coming from Danny.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's coming from you.
All right. Well, let me leave out and come back because I ain't got nothing else on.
You might have sometimes if people run YouTube on their page and even though
it don't really sound like it's us feedback from us. It almost sounds like a radio, almost like a CB radio style, like we're getting interference.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got nothing else on here. All I got is my laptop on, and the only thing on the screen is StreamYard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it would be.
Like me, half the time I never figure out what it ends up being. But yeah, guys and gals, they are so much out there that can lead you to bigger fish or more quantity of fish or quality of fish. You know, the way I look at it is that, you know, I might go out there tomorrow, fire up the boat, get down there and turn the electronics on, and they might not come on. Are you going to turn around and go back home? Nah, you're going to fish.
Nope. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to fish.
It's just like, I think I went out Thursday. I got out early Thursday, and I went to a spot that I've never fished before. Didn't know if I was going to get service or anything, but I sat there for 2.5 hours, even though I had no service, no nothing to be able to do anything. I couldn't pull up Google Earth. I couldn't bring up any navionics, nothing. I was stuck. So I just sat there and fished for 2 hours. I didn't care.
Well, and there's somebody else you need to get a hold of if you want to do a couple more shows of old school and stuff. Even though David's up on electronics, you know, he knows how to read it. He knows how to use them, and he's got good electronics. he still uses a lot of. He's old school like we are. He's
Okay.
but he's one that will find a spot and sit down on it. And he knows. But what he does, he uses his knowledge of the waters, and he sets up at whatever spot at certain times of the year because he knows that there's going to be some traffic come through there with the fish.
Yeah.
So he finds those transitional spots, and then he'll set on them. And most of the time, places like that are points. You can find points. Now, on the river, Danny, I don't know if y'all have many points or places like that on the river. You would have more bends and stuff like that, don't you?
Well, what we fish mostly are the wing dikes, wing dams, stuff like that.
Right.
Come think about the only place you're going to find if you'll go on like a wing dike, and there's one spot in particular I'm thinking of that the water cuts through the wing dike and goes on down the river, but there's a cold cut way back up into a tree line.
Right.
That runs along the back side of that wing dike. It's on the back side of it. And that's the only place on the river that I personally know that you can even catch crappie or bluegill. Everywhere else on the river, I've never caught them.
Huh.
So that is a hot spot whenever the crappie are spawning or the bluegill are spawning. Everywhere else on the river, I've never caught a bluegill or crappie on that river. It's a big river. It's fast current.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not their kind of habitat they're going to want to hang out in.
And see, for you, that would be the best thing is trying to find some of these guys. I love going to my Hearties restaurants early in the morning because you got these older gentlemen sitting there drinking coffee.
I'll
ask them all kinds of questions.
Be careful with the old stuff now.
older than you. Let's put it that way. Yeah. These gentlemen have been going there for like 20 years and still getting around. They all come in. They all come in using the same walker.
Yeah.
Now you gotta watch some of them guys too, because they'll have you out there fishing with bubble gum and stuff.
Hey,
they'll tell you some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But when you ask them, hey, how do you read the water when you were fishing? And they tell you exactly how to read the waters, how to read your areas, and that's what I love about talking to some of these guys.
Yeah, it's and with everybody, you got to take things with a grain of salt anyway, and decipher out what is going to be usable for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, they will tell you a whole lot. A lot of them use these old window weights, and a lot of you young people might not understand what we're talking about. Old single pane windows, and a lot of your old houses had long, skinny weights in them to help hold the window.
Yeah, I remember. Up. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yep.
See, now you're making me feel old.
I'm younger than both of you. I know exactly what that is.
But
I've got a bunch of them.
Oh, I hear you. Well, what my grandfather used to say when they would go out on the boats, they would take and tie one on just one. They didn't use it for an anchor. Well, they did use them for anchors, but they used them to find deep holes. They would throw it out on a long line, and then when they'd watch that line as they was going, and if your line stretched out like that, you're still shallow. But when you see the angle change, it's dropped off in deeper water. They would use stuff like that just to find deeper holes or whatever. And of course, if it gets hung up and turns your boat around, then you either found a tree or a rock pile.
Yeah.
And then they could take that thing and jerk it up and down and let it hit. And you about can tell if you're in mud or muck or rock or shell or anything. Trying to see if we had any questions in here. I see a local.
Jeremy Turncat says, if someone tells you to go fish 50 feet, then go fish 4 foot. LOL. Grain of salt.
That's my kind of water. I like 4 foot water. Throwing up in 2 foot. And I know river fishermen don't get to do that much, but I guess you could when the fish are running up shallow, chasing bait fish. Danny was talking about that place up in the creeks. Now, Danny, on that part of the water that you go, are they many creeks and rivers that feed into the Mississippi, or you got to move a long ways to find any of that?
You got to move a long ways to find them. Like, well, the main spot that I've been fishing for the past month, a lot of people have seen it. There's a little spillway dam that's a drainage that comes off all the fields and everything from the farmers' crops. And there's a spillway dam there that they open up and let there. And that's the only spot I've got near me where it dumps in.
Right.
But man, right there at the mouth of that, there's actually two creeks that come together to form a Y. And
Yeah.
right after they meet, another 50 yards past that, they both come together and dump right in the Mississippi.
That's
And
right.
I've actually took a John boat and well, those two creeks come together and form the Y, and tied my boat up to the bank and cast down into that Y where it's hitting the Mississippi, where it comes up into that shallow water.
Mhm.
That's my best spot to fish right there.
Oh,
I get blues, I get flatheads, and if I pull up in the shallow all the time, there's a lot of channels hiding up in that shallower water that the blues and the flatheads can't get to because it's too shallow for them.
Yeah.
There you go.
Uncle Lou said that some of those were lead even, but majority were cast. Said, yeah, I remember some of those. My dad used to have some of that stuff.
Yeah, we did. We're not being able to go to the water. I've been missing out fishing. And I'm gonna tell you guys, I know a lot of y'all hear me calling them ditch pickles and stuff like that, and not being a bass and people not wanting to bass fish. But one rod, get you some bullet weights, some worm hooks, some rubber worms, and lizards. And learn your water, especially you guys that bank fish.
Mm-hmm.
Learn your waters. That right there, when you learn, use mono at first until you learn, because I'm a line filler. I about cut that finger off when I first started using spider wire many years ago. But anyway, be a line filler with mono. Throw that thing out there and work every inch of that water around where you're going to set up and bank fish. And the reason I'm saying that, once you can learn the tail of the bottom, whether you bumping a stick or whether you bumping into mussel shell or whether you're on a hard bottom or rocky bottom or coming through a stump field, make a notation of all of that stuff while you're bassing. And of course, you're going to have fun. And don't be surprised, because the catfish will eat a rubber worm, I promise you, and rubber lizards and crawdads. I've had the rod about snatched out of my hands more than once and thought I had a big 15-pound bass and it was a catfish. So that's another way that it don't cost you a lot of money, that you can learn what that bottom is around you. Especially, it's great for bank fishermen, because you might be throwing over top of a little hole, and if you ain't bumping across through there, then you'll never know it's there. Or they might be a rock pile out in front of you that you're dragging your baits right by, and really should have dropped your baits right there at it. And the only way to know that is to learn that bottom.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a little hint from me. But.
Yeah. I would appreciate that, man. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for everybody that's in this chat right now.
Yeah.
And because everybody's the reason why I hit that 500. So.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Definitely appreciate everybody for that. Definitely.
Yeah. Congratulations on that, Kelly.
I
that
appreciate
first
it.
5 burger, ain't it?
Oh yeah, it is. Oh my gosh. It's been let's say it's been a nightmare of a roller coaster.
Just be yourself, my friend. Just be yourself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Enjoy it and do it for the right reasons. If people think they're going to get millionaires on here, I hate to hurt their feelings. They better go to TikTok.
Yeah. Well, I tell you one thing. That's not going to be me. I'm going to earn my 1K the right way. Because people are going to come in here and want to hear the content. They want to see me fishing. That's what I want. And I want to basically, the community tab, and I've talked to a few people, the community tab for me is my way of giving back to the community that got me here.
Yeah.
All the channels that got me here to that 500, guarantee you go live, you will be shared out. No matter what, you will be shared out.
Yeah.
So
That's it. That's the best advice. I've been stuck at not quite 2,000 for about 3 months. About 10 away from, or 11 away from 2,000. And I just can't break that 2,000 mark for some reason, but
Yeah.
that's okay. I ain't here about the numbers. I'm here to help each other, help our veterans, our first responders, police, and stuff like that. So, yeah, your subscribers are good for your head, but your watch time is what makes your channel.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not too worried about the watch time. I'm at 3,800 already, so I'll be there plenty of time. So
Right.
on that one, so we got 42 people in the house. Appreciate everybody coming in here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up, share it out. Guys, make sure we hit throw out there Danny Stone's link out there. Make sure we get him up there. Make sure we share some love with him, definitely, because he's one of the channels that I definitely want to push to. He's helped push me a lot, so I want to give back to him, definitely.
Offer, Kelly. We do. Whether you, and I've said this and you've heard me say it 1,000 times, whether you've first time picking up a rod and reel or you a 30-year experienced fisherman, everybody has a little bit to offer, because that man that's picking up the rod and reel for the first time, he'll do anything he can to catch a fish.
Oh, yeah.
So he might be totally thinking totally outside the box from everything that we're thinking. But that one guy liable to come up with the best next thing we know to catfishing.
Polar bear. The Chad wants to know who's the lady on the bottom of the panel.
He's not going to get slapped.
Now, Chad. Oh, Lord. Polar bear. There's Pontoon Jody.
Yep. There's Jay Fox Hunter, man. You know what I've told you before, man. I appreciate the video your wife put out about you and them and the stuff that you all been going through. You know, you're always in our prayers. I know you're here to support us, and we'll support you back always.
Yeah. Is it Keith Smart? No.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Keith?
Or something like that,
yeah. Back into, actually, they called in hospice.
I know he's having some heart issues or something. I think Jay Fox was having some heart issues. The reason why he's not been able to go out and do fishing much. So
it's somebody I can't. Dang, I'm brain dead, and I'm sorry, but I seen somebody.
Catfish Terry went into the emergency room at the hospital yesterday. They put IV on him. He was running 102 temperature. They're not sure what's wrong with him. They did 2 COVID tests. He's come up negative on that. I think he's back home now.
Yeah, he did a video. Yeah, he did a video earlier and he didn't look too good.
Oh, he ain't look good at all. He said he ain't eat nothing but a piece of toast and a couple of bites of chicken noodle soup in 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, y'all keep him in your thoughts and prayers, because
oh yeah, absolutely. He's been awesome with me and helping me out and growing the channel too. So I definitely want to help show the love back to him.
But give you a little hint. Be careful with that announcing too much about share for share. You know what I'm saying? Because them algorithms will bust your tail. I don't think it's as bad as it was, because I don't see much of that going on a whole lot no more.
Yeah.
At one time,
the sub for sub stuff.
Yeah.
Well, my advice to anybody that's just starting out, or even if you're, even anybody that's below 500, man, just go out there, fish, make videos, keep putting them up. Don't even look at that crap. Don't even look at it. Keep making videos as many as you can. Put it out there and get people. People will start watching your stuff. And then one day you open it up, look at it, and you go, "Oh crap, I'm doing pretty good," and just keep doing that.
Yeah.
But if all you're worried about is that number, you will stress yourself out, and it'll affect your videos too, because you're gonna be so worried about getting something that everybody's gonna watch that you're not doing what you want to do.
Yep.
Go out there, have fun, and do
absolutely.
what you want to do. If people like it, trust me, they're coming. They'll show up.
Oh, yeah. I know. I've got probably 80 or 90 something videos of catfishing or something. I've got a ton of catfishings. I barely caught a fish. I'm sitting there for 2-3 hours skunked. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
fun.
I do. I hate skunk.
Yeah.
But no.
I mean, I care, but hey, at least I'm out there. I'm out there
Yeah,
doing it instead of
that's
sitting on a
it.
couch
I mean,
doing nothing.
Yeah.
Because you look at people doing live streams. There's people go out there time after time after time, and they're not catching anything. But there's, 20, 30, 40 people showing up there and hanging out and talking in chat and
Yep.
communicating with you and stuff, and you have a good time. Well, those are watch hours. But like I said, just spend that time with them people. Spend that time on the water. Don't worry about subs. Don't worry about watch hours and stuff. When you start getting up there close to 1,000 or something, or that 500 mark, and if you want to put a little more effort into trying to get to that number, then fine. But before then, just have fun and let it happen.
Well,
don't worry about it.
Yeah, I've seen so many people ruin the fun of fishing because they was worried about turning that camera on.
Yeah.
A lot of days that I do all my filming through my phone, and I got a GoPro, but the phone's easier. And actually, it's got a better camera than the GoPro does. But there's a lot of times that I just don't want to turn that camera on. I just want to enjoy the fishing part of it,
Yeah. Just like Chrissy Brown says, I just love fishing, and that's what we need to get back to. We need to get back to, and I want to start doing more of that. I just want to fish.
And see, you can get a lot of people come and watch your channel, and they'll all show up while you're doing a live stream. But I'm gonna be honest with you, a lot of times, unless I'm catching fish back to back and it's really action packed, you know what I mean? I actually hate live streaming because to me it feels like there's a whole lot of dead time in there.
Yeah.
And nobody's gonna. And you've got that now. That's on your page. That big long live stream, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours. Nobody's gonna go back and watch that.
No.
And there's that video you got locked in. Yeah, you got a whole bunch of people to watch it while it was happening. But how many people are going to go back and watch 8 hours of you not catching a fish? That's why I prefer to video or just record my fishing trips. I can go home, chop out all that boring crap and put it up there. You're not going to get as many people to watch it as you did the live stream as far as the viewing hours. Okay. Yeah. But you'll get more people that'll come back and watch that whole video that is 10, 15, 20, even 30 minutes long versus an 8-hour live stream. Nobody's going to go back and watch that again. If you put timestamps in there, they'll click through there and find that. But other than that, I mean, the original broadcast, that's where all your attention's at. But after that, basically it gets stuck up in there with your other videos, and it's just wasted space, in my opinion.
I agree 100% with you there. There's a few people out there that can entertain in between the dead times. Dieter Melhorn is probably one of the best I've ever seen that can fill those dead times. And there's a few others, but just to sit and watch rods. I mean, some people do. Some people will sit down. I flipped on some of them. They'd have 500 people watching the rods. I guess they're just waiting to see for something to happen. Guys, I'm sorry to tell you, I don't have that much time in the day to sit and watch all the live feeds that's just sitting there. I don't. And I'm sorry, and I would love to. And now I might lose half a dozen daggum people that watches my live feeds. They might think I'm bored. But you don't feel that time. And it's like kids. Americans have got real short attention spans now. So
yeah, they like those 15-second videos now.
Yeah. So but back to old school, I think that bait, if people could learn their bait fish that they're legally able to use in their waters and pay a lot more attention to their bait, then I think their quality and quantity of fish will go up. Because you gotta know how to catch the bait for one thing. It's like Lyle said, he hurt his back the other day throwing that cast net. said he found the bait, but he just couldn't get to them or something like that. And I don't know if that's waters that he had fished a whole lot prior to that, or if it's been a while and maybe the bait, it was deeper than what he thought it was. So to me, learn your bait fish. Learn your bait fish.
Yep.
Yeah, chunky, entertain.
Yeah, regulars. Aaron says nothing like watching your wife catch her first blue cat and it be 35 pounds. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We were all there. We were all sitting there waiting on it, too.
Yeah.
Lance, not necessarily. He says showing a video of just catching fish is just fishing for subs. No, not necessarily. I mean, because I've had people tell me, said I would watch your video if they were shorter. Okay, so it's not about fishing for subs. It's about people who are already sub to you, but they don't want to sit there for 6 or 8 hours if they missed a live stream. They're gonna do the same thing. They're gonna click through there until they see a fish. They're gonna stop and they're gonna watch that part. I mean, that's just bad.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and he said that the only way to show the truth about fishing is to show the whole thing. Well, I mean, what truth are you hiding if you edit a video? You're just cutting out the time between fish. Everybody knows that you're not catching a fish every 5 seconds.
Well,
Yep.
especially if you're just sitting there.
You're
Yeah,
just
especially if you're just sitting there not talking. If you're not talking, doing nothing at all, and you're just sitting there, not reading chat, not doing anything, yeah, I can understand that. I can understand you editing that all out for just the fish or whatever.
But you know me, I'm a freaking nut, man. I'm always doing something.
And that's why we said it. Some of them said in the chat, we love watching you because you are a nut.
Well, I mean, I'm going to be doing something. If I'm not catching a fish, I'm going to do something.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm talking about everybody doesn't do that.
Right.
Everybody. No. I mean, there's a lot of people you'll see, they're just sitting there like this, and, you know, and they'll look at chat and they'll talk a little bit and they'll sit there and look at the water.
Yeah.
I mean,
video, the way you keep it real is show you a little bit of that downtime, show you busting your tail or falling in the water videos.
Yeah.
That, to me, that keeps it real. Period.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But the thing about it is, you know, when it all comes down to it, it's your channel, it's your video. If you want long ones, you make long ones. If you want short ones, you make short ones. And nobody can tell you to do either one. That's your decision.
Yeah.
And do what if you feel like that's what makes your channel, then by all means go with that. And I mean, that's about is doing what you want to do. And if people want to watch it, they will.
Yeah. And it's like Chris said that people are at work, etc. They have like 10 to 15 minutes, so they go on YouTube and look for the shorts. You can still do a short from your long 2-hour video. Just you can go in there and cut a small short out of it.
Yeah.
And still keep that long view for your hours.
Right. See,
and let them have that and do both.
It's. I mean, I know there's some people commented that before and told me, so I'm going to do it anyway. They don't want me to turn into 2 stands with the S word, but the piebald, I've got the big long video in the middle of it. You got that piebald I caught. I went there and cut that section out and made a short video of that. So they can either watch the short version or they can watch the whole thing. It's both there for them. I put both of them there for you.
Yeah. I mean, that's like I'm sitting here making floats right now. And that's when a lot of times I will turn people's live streams on there and maybe go back and watch their live streams because I didn't catch it live. And I'll sit here and let it run in the background and me listen. And then if I hear them holler fish on or something like that, then I'll look over at the screen. But other times it's just kind of like background noise to me while I'm.
Well, it's like Murillo said a minute ago. It's like that he'll sit there and on that 3, 4, 5 hour live, you could put it on and give them that watch hours, especially if they're there that close. If they're that close and they need that watch hours, just throw it in, like James said, throw it in the background while you're working. Just have it in the background playing. Help them with that hours.
Yep. I'm not saying there isn't a purpose to, because Lance was commenting a while ago, like I was saying, that there's no purpose to long videos. Yeah, there are purposes for them, and there are people to watch them. But I'm saying for the average person, who works 40 hours a week and they'll come in and want to watch your video, they're not going to watch 8 hours.
No.
If they weren't able to be there, if they were at work while you were live streaming. So if you could take sections of that out and make a short video and put that up there with addition to the long one for people that want to watch it.
Yeah.
But the people who are short on time, that they don't have time to watch all that. You'd make something for them too.
Yeah. I've got a lot of disabled veterans and a lot of family that don't YouTube. So you won't see them in my chat of my show, but I know that they're always watching. And they are people that are disabled or whatever, and they would sit down and watch some of the longer live streams. But if you start making sure, they're gonna find somebody else to watch.
Yeah. Miss Dana, if you all need anything, holler at me. She just posted that John Parker's really sick right now, so definitely keep him in mind. So yeah, Miss Dana, if you need anything, holler at me. You know how to get hold of me.
Well, they were just live the other day, wasn't they?
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what this is. That there's a lot of people come down with something after CatCon, and it's not the C word, but it's like some kind of like viral sinus and lung infection of some type or something. I got it. I know about 10 or 12 people or others got it. But I mean, it's just something weird.
Well, I'm kind of then I don't need
Nope.
I went 2 years ago, and that's when a lot of people 2 years ago ended up getting the COVID during that time. But me and the wife had it that November prior to them even talking about it.
Yeah.
So I think I had an immunity. There was a lot of people got sick that year.
Yeah.
What was that, 2019? And then
yeah, it was about because I think you had it right about the time I did.
Yeah. I was trying to think of when that CatCon was, and then they had to shut down the next one, and they done it live. Yes, whatever.
Yeah.
Thought I seen a question. The pollen's horrible.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying it's allergies, but it just strikes me as odd that so many people from CatCon come down with this. Like Ernie Brown, he's got the same thing I got. It's sinus and in your chest. Several other people do. So, and we're living in different parts of the country. And it may be a coincidental pollen thing. I don't know.
Well, usually this time of year, the pollen is the big pollen, like the pine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The pines are pollinating hard right now. And usually pines don't bother people much.
Ernie says I gave it to him. I didn't get it until 3 days after I got home.
Y'all ain't
Yeah, but you're in the hotel room with them.
Not with Ernie.
I
slept on Ricky's floor.
I was there.
Ricky ain't got it.
Remember, I was there. I was there the night you were all eating pizza.
Oh crap! Ernie was there.
Yep. So was J Dog and Lee and Van and all them. Yep, all of them were there.
Yep, Freddie too.
Yep,
Freddie and Buddy.
Yep. Yeah, here they all are sitting in a hotel room. There's like 15 of them in a hotel room, and I'm sitting on a camera watching all of them.
They crazy. After all that day, when I went to CatCon for 2 days up walking the whole time, when I made it back to the motel, I was ready to lay down and go to bed.
Not them. They were up eating pizza, having a good old time, laughing and giggling and everything else. Yeah, I know. I missed out. Yep.
But I'm glad everybody had a good time. That's what it's all about.
Art. There's Art from the One Tons.
Yeah, Art's a good old boy.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, well, you got up there and you're meeting pretty much all these people for the first time.
Yeah.
But within a 2 days of being there, you didn't want to leave them because it's like you're just leaving your family, and walking off and never coming back. Man, I tell you what, it was tough. There are several of us that got kind of emotional because you developed them, you've known them through YouTube forever, but to actually meet them and to be around them and stuff, I mean, there's a lot of tight bonds there.
Oh yeah, and that's why I had my first original tournament, Danny, and that was before you got on YouTube. I had the very first live catfish tournament that was YouTubers only.
Yeah.
We ended up having, with short notice, and in January, it's spitting snow, sleet, and freezing rain. We had 32 YouTubers that come together for the first time they ever got to meet. And we had a blast. Now, we froze our freaking tails off that day, but there was a bond made there at that first one like that. So.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That was a good question right there.
Any old school? Well, we've done some stupid stuff.
Well, yeah. Hey, let's hear it. What's some of the craziest stuff you all did with rigs or deploying baits? What's some of the craziest, stupidest things you've done?
Oh God, let me think.
Well, I'm gonna tell you one of mine that got me doing the freelining part was run off and realize that your tackle box is home, but your rod and reels is in the truck, and you didn't have those sinkers. All you had was the hooks on your line. So I just started freelining then and started catching fish. So that was I guess that's one way that I figured out how to use something different than what I was normally used to fishing with. Because back then it was just all Carolina rigs.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing I can think of, the dumbest thing we ever did was me and my brother were on the Mississippi River, and I walked out onto a wing dike, but before I did, he took the sinker and the bait in his hand, and I free spooled it, and he climbed out on this tree limb and dropped it down on the other side of this brush pile that I couldn't get to from the wing dike. But when he was out there on that tree limb, it broke off, and he went in the river, and yeah, that wasn't no fun. We got in trouble for that one.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't count the times I've busted my tail slide down mud banks and everything else into the water. I've seen some funny stuff. I've done some crazy things. One of the craziest things was at the hot hole. And, in most hot holes, it's downhill all the way to them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's snowing like crazy, and we was all down there fishing, and they was running water, so we was catching fish to beat the band. And all of a sudden, we heard this racket, and we looked up the top of the hill, and a bunch of teenage boys and girls had their canoe, throwed all their stuff in it, and decided to jump in that canoe and try to ride it to the bottom. Well, when it hit the trail at the bottom, the canoe stopped. Well, they didn't stop. And it rolled people all down into the water all over the freaking banks. And of course, that's about half drunk. And we laughed till I thought I was going to pee on myself. Then people were scattered all over that cotton picking hill. But as soon as that nose hit that trail and the trail leveled out a little bit, it just buried and stopped.
Oh.
What's in motion remains in motion. But,
that's the second question. Sixth time this came up. I don't even know if it's gonna happen this weekend.
Yeah, I've heard y'all get some.
Evan's wanting to know that. What's my plan?
Evan and somebody else was, but we're getting ready to hit some bad storms this weekend.
Here's your answer, Evan. Tune in and find out.
I've heard that everybody's going out west is getting ready to have some major cold weather coming in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I think this is going to be the toughest weekend of fishing you're going to see for everybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's going to be rough.
They're calling for snowstorms this weekend on us and here
We're
in
getting
Kentucky.
snow the day before, Friday.
Yeah, we've got 20. I think they're saying 20-degree weather all day with like 13-degree at night.
Oh, they can have
snowstorms. Yeah, I don't want none of it. That can go away.
No, yeah, that's to me. That ain't fun fishing. Oh no! Look at the head on that thing.
Yeah.
What's going on, fellas?
What's going on, my brother?
Well, I know Kelly had sent out.
Yeah, I
Old
tried to
school
call you
tackle
today to
talk.
come up here, but you didn't answer.
I was taking care of some things. I'm free now, so I figured I'd jump in for a few.
You got that new
But
phone
yeah,
yet?
speaking of James and gold mining, you see the price, right?
It went up to $2,000.83 yesterday, Freddie.
Yep, they expect it to hit over 2,500 in the next 6 months.
Yeah, my dredge is getting ready to be brought down here to the house and rebuilt.
Yep, I plan on doing some work on mine. Hopefully, if the weather's all right next week, to get it ready.
I got to go to Smokefoot and get my seals for my pumps because I know them seals are probably done dry now. But so long as I run it. Yeah, I asked you about you talking about you lost your stuff in the Broad yesterday. I didn't know where you had put out at.
I put out. I can't remember the name of the ramp. Almost across the Broad from Monticello Dam.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yep. I put in there, did some scouting, wanted to check it out. Yeah, just dummy Freddy mistake, not strapping my stuff back down, and things happen. But it's all good. I got a brand new phone. Actually, yesterday I did the claim, and 2 hours later they showed up at the doorstep with a refurbished phone, pretty much brand new, and cost me $100 instead of 850 plus. So I was happy with that.
The wrong way anyway,
There
Fred.
you go.
You needed a new
Not
phone. That old cracked up screen you had, it's about time for that thing to go anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I got a brand new screen that ain't cracked, so
Yeah.
we're good.
I mean, you got to look at the bright side of it. That other phone needed to go.
Oh yeah. No,
Have you got a call from Billy Blue yet?
No, I got a call from
Flatty
Flathead though. Yep. I did get a call from Flathead, and it's on my voicemail. So
now, Freddie, you know
I knew you was gonna get that one.
When we was gold mining, it's called the Cali case, everybody. They're cheap and they float and they're waterproof. You can put your phone in there. You can actually run your phone through there. Before they had waterproof phones, I was down there gold mining. That's what I was filming my gold mining with. My phone inside the Cali case. It's CALICASE, Cali case.
Now, I've got one of those, but I haven't used it yet. I've got one of those, but I haven't used it. Does it affect the audio on it?
A little bit. It makes it kind of muffled.
See, that's what I was wondering.
But, I mean, that's better than daggum losing your phone.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially if you're moving or going down the water like that, you really ain't filming.
Yeah.
Attach it.
Yeah. My wife bought me one of those, and I ain't even took it out of the box yet.
They need to make a case that's got a loop on there where you can hook a lanyard to it.
Yeah.
I think who was it? Somebody dropped a video this week on the 20 waterproof cases for phones.
And
so there's cases out there that will actually make them waterproof for you.
Yeah, Ernie made a good comment there. He said Bluetooth. Yeah, if you get you a Bluetooth headset, you'll be fine. You'll be able to speak in it, and they can hear you clear off your headset and things like that. So you'll be just fine.
I mean, you all know when I go live out in the water, and especially creeks, you know what I'm doing. I'm Bluetoothing it. Yeah. I can walk 30, 40 yards away from my phone, and you all hear me like I'm standing right there beside the phone. So
now, Freddie, it don't matter if your phone's in 20 foot of water. It ain't doing you no good being waterproof at all. It does.
Nope.
Nope. Except for he can call Flathead and ask him where the fish are at.
Yeah.
Well, what I want to know, with all this technology and all these improvements, why can't they just make a cotton picking phone that's waterproof?
Well, my phone is this iPhone 12 right here. It is waterproof down to about 22 foot, I think.
Yep.
But here's the thing. If you drop it in 20 or 25 feet, are you going to go down there and get it? Nope.
Not this time of year anyway.
Nope. But
That's when he's gonna pull out that other device he had and mark that spot.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
James made a good point with that. Those little small handheld GPSs are great. I use them for gold. I use them for fishing. And again, all it is you can hit a button that says tag, and it'll actually mark the spot, and you can change whatever you want to name it.
Yep.
So it's great for it's really great for bank anglers. If you got a couple spots that you know you have to walk through the woods and you can't quite remember. Plus, if you stay out till dark, you can sit there and watch your path, and it'll take you right back to your truck, easy as pie.
Yep.
But those things work great. And to get back into the whole title of what it is, old school. You know, I haven't targeted catfish, you know, specifically except since last year. So I haven't been doing the targeting so long. But the biggest thing that I do and have done for many years is you got to read your rivers. You know, for a river fisherman, you got to read the rivers. It's just like gold mining. Gold is heavier than anything else. It's going to drop out on the back of the inside bend. And your fish are going to do the same thing. That's where your current slows down a little bit. They're going to get out of that faster current, sit right on the edge of it, and that's where they're going to target their fish at. So if you're on a bank and you can get on that bend and throw them rods and them lines just on the inside of it, 9 times out of 10, if the fish are in there, that's where they're going to be.
Yep.
And answer Chris's thing about the Bluetooth. It's whatever you prefer. It don't matter. I've had probably 5 or 6 different brands. They all work the same to me.
Yeah, they're all pretty much the same. You know, quality is a little bit better the more expensive you get. You know, just like your rod and reel. You get a little more expensive rod and reels, a little bit better quality. But still, your $15, $20 ones that you can buy at Target or Walmart work just as well. You know.
Oh yeah.
So I wouldn't go crazy if you want to try them out. I'd recommend go cheap first. Go to Walmart. You know, they've got the little Jelly Belly Bluetooth earbuds, and I think they're $15-$20, something like that. Give those a shot, and if you like the way they fit or like the way they feel, use them for a little while. Save up your money to get you a better name brand one if you want.
Yes, sir.
And it also goes upon what fits in your ear better. Some don't sit in your ears just right.
Yep.
Because not everybody's ears inside your ears are set the same. So.
And then, like James, I'm a big lake fisher. I fish more lakes than I do rivers. And on a lake, I'm looking for those coves. I'm looking for them stumps and them trees laid down in them coves where you got a little bit of shallow water, but then you got some deeper water out there, so you can fan cast a couple shallow and a couple deep. Again, 9 times out of 10, that's where the fish are going to be, because some fish are going to be deep, some are going to be shallow. So
yeah, and I mean that's just like you've heard so many times talking about. Well, they all gone on spawn. Not all them fish spawn at the same time.
Nope.
They don't. I mean, they just don't. And some fish are not of age to spawn, and some fish are done past the age of spawning. They all got to eat.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
And like you said, the spawning also depends on what region of the state you're from. I mean, depends on the weather. I mean, my weather here could be totally different 2 states over. So could be in spawn now, and theirs being spawned 2 months from now.
Well, if you're in the Carolinas, it can be daggum different from county to county.
That's the truth.
Yeah. Well, Kentucky's the same way, because our weather could change in just like a split second. So just like we just had 70-degree weather, and now we're having 20 and snow.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like once that daggum in fronts hit our mountains, it does something to it. Either it makes it easier for us and we don't have as bad as what y'all get it out west, or it'll come around and it'll pick up all that ocean moisture, and then it'll sit on top of us and rain for days.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It depends, like you said, it depends if it comes over top of the mountains, which it's coming over top of us, or it's going to go down south underneath past all the mountains and come up towards y'all. So it depends on how you all are sitting. Yeah.
Wintertime, if them cold wet fronts drop down through Atlanta and come up, we count on having snow here.
Yep.
If it comes across the mountains, most time it might knock the tops off of it, and say some of our northern counties will get some of the snow. But that's another thing is forecast where you've heard a lot of people that fish by moon phases or fish
Mhm.
by watching high pressures and low pressures. Fish have got to eat. Whether the moon's out or whether the moon ain't out, whether it's a high pressure or low pressure, they still got to eat. You know.
Yeah, and see, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's part of the old school. Is a lot of people they go after that stuff. They go after the signs, whatever the signs from the almanac. They go after what the moon phase is, bluebird skies, things like that. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Building, we found a bunch of old magazines and old stuff like that, but I also found about 15 or 20 old farmers' almanacs from the 30s, 40s, and 50s. And they had tremendous amount of information in there about fishing and gardening, and what moon to plant on, what moon to fish on. There was just so much great reading in them. I thought, man, I'd love to been able to keep up. I'd love to have the whole span of them all the way up to today.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But another thing, people, you don't need it. Even boat fishermen, you don't need the high tech, high dollar electronics. If you're just starting out, I'd say don't get them to start out. If you got your little John boat, get out on the water, start fishing, checking the spots. Go old school. Go to Walmart. Go online. Look up the map of the lake. Look up the readings. Read the terrain on the maps. 9 times out of 10, you'll do better by finding fish that way than you will on electronics anyway. Especially in the colder months, like right now. Perfect example. I was up with J-Dog last week for a whole week. Every fish we marked, we couldn't get the bite. Where we knew fish tend to be, but we couldn't mark any, we caught fish. That was just because the fish were down in the mud. And 9 times out of 10, if they're down in the mud, you're not going to mark them. But he knew the terrain, knew where the typical bends were, the low points. So, and all that can be found on a map. So Google Maps. Go to Walmart, get an old school map of the lake or the river you're going to fish in. Take a look at it, do your research, and go out there and fish, especially for the new ones. Don't worry about buying a $700, $800 fish finder, to start out with.
Oh hell, that's what
start with paper.
That.
Danny's got a good little book there. It's a Fisherman's Digest.
Yeah, this is an old one. And there's an old man come by my office the other day and gave this to me. He found it in his closet in his house. It was, I don't even know what date it is. 10th edition, but whenever this book was on,
probably on the back.
Might
tell you on the back.
Yeah, it should be on the back or on the spine. One of the two should have it in it, or maybe in the front cover.
Be under the front, under the copyright.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot.
You don't see those in much. You don't see those.
But this has got a whole section on catfishing here. You talk about some old school tips, man.
Read us one of them.
Well, let me see if I can find it. Man, it goes everything from saltwater to trout to salmon to catfish. This thing covers everything.
Yep.
Panfish in there.
Well,
that's an old school book, man. When they're telling you how to catch Pacific shad.
I hear you.
Look at the index here and see where the catfishing section is.
Okay, while you're looking at that, you will hear people talking about, well, I won't fish on high pressure days, or I won't fish on a full moon. But yet then you'll have 5 more people that'll swear it down they do. I love high pressure days. Those bluebird days, I go shallow. When the pressure's high, I go shallow. Of course, when the pressure's low, I go shallow too, so it don't really matter. But
there's the catfish section of it right there. There's a lot of
river cat.
Man, you think this book ain't old? Look at some of this crap they got in here. That's some old stink bait right there.
I used to love old catfish blood bait, Charlie.
It'll even teach you how to dig up some worms.
and hands down, still today is still true. A good old night crawler is just as good as anything else to catch a catfish.
Well, see, and see that's how I grew up. I grew up on just worms. I sit on the dock and I'd take a big long line with my hook and I would throw it, just let it drop with a night crawler on it, and just drop it all the way down as far as I can go.
The motor guys were serious. He teaching you how to fish a brush pile. He climbs out there and sits on the logs and fishes in it right there.
There you go.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
The only
This
thing
old
about
book-
fishing them around here, you gotta watch out for them water moccasins. They'll get out there on the log with you.
You ain't lying.
Oh,
son.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Cottonmouth and water moccasin sit right there beside you.
Or swim right between your legs if you're out there in the water.
Yeah.
or climb up on your dredge while you're running that cotton picking thing.
Yep, had that happen.
That one that was on my dredge, man, he was that big around and about 3.5 foot long. And I noted that I cleaned out my dredge the day before and didn't leave no big rocks in it. And underneath my rubber flap, there's a knot in it when I got down there. So I took me a long stick and flipped that thing up. As the biggest cotton picking water moccasin I had seen. And then I looked down around my feet and there was 4 or 5 babies everywhere. And I said, holy moly. And I've been diving in that water. I'm talking about 9 foot down, looking up at the surface and them things swimming around.
No, yeah.
Give you the willies, boy.
Snakes don't bother me. They don't bother
Well,
me. a bit.
James,
Yeah.
I know you've been sitting there working your tail off. Kind of tell us a little bit what you're working on right now.
Well, I'm making, the loops and stuff that goes
Some of that stuff you can.
the barber caps. If I can find the camera right there. Yep. So that's my swivels and stuff. I got them learned to use them swivels from Junior Proctor. And of course I've got my tubing that y'all have to, that I put the lights in and a few other things. But I'm gonna show you, I'm increasing the size of the float, of the large floats. The bottle, the small ones I can't, but the large ones used to. Let me find one of the yellow ones. Well, here's a green one. I don't have a green screen so you can see it. But you see how I used to leave that much of the light of the top out? I'm no longer going to do that because actually the new pieces that I have, the inserts, they will be rounded instead of coming to the point. So I went ahead. I had to cut green ones anyway. So I went ahead and cut them. So you're only going to have a little bit that sticks out of the top. And the reason I do that, guys, is that when that light, the battery starts getting weak in it, it might not shine through the float as much, but you will always be able to see it up here.
Yep.
Don't take much longer to light this up. So
nope, not at all.
And plus, I've added, it's almost an inch more flotation that you'll have with these. So all of them will be going and looking like that. Now, this one hadn't been heat sealed. I heat seal the top and the bottom so it don't take on much water, but just something I do to help y'all when y'all use them. And Danny, don't rule out using a float in the river.
Oh no, I actually have. Like there's this one spot where there's a point sticking out into the river. It's not like a wing diagram, but it's just it juts out a little bit from the bank.
Right.
And right behind it, there's an eddy. It swirls around, and you'll see debris floating. It just goes round and round in a circle. Yep. And I have taken, I've even took just little 20-ounce soda bottles and rigged them up like a float. And you throw it out there in the fast current, and it'll sweep it over that eddy, and it'll go around and around and around, and all of a sudden that bottle will take off and go down. And you got to get all that slack in, and boom. And I've caught blue cats is in holes that were 20, 25 foot deep and only be fishing 3 or 4 feet deep below that soda bottle and have them come up. Now, you're going to get a lot of gar.
Yeah.
But you'll get catfish too.
Yeah.
Because the gar will grab that bottle and he'll run and run and run with it, not take it under for a long time and just run with it.
Right.
But if you see that bottle go down, that's catfish.
Yep. That's yeah.
And those floats right there would work perfect. I've got about 3 or 4 places on the river. Those would work great. Sit out there and throw them out at night and let them just watch that light just go around in circles in that eddy until you see it not there no more.
Yep. Yeah, I got a couple guys that or just for fishing those eddies like that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Daniel H is asking you
I've got
how I get some of them.
Yep.
Daniel, go if you use Facebook, go to Messenger and message James Smith. You will see on my picture of the green float. And if you don't do Facebook, you can text me at 704-600-8369. I don't have a web page yet. I'm working on one. Excuse me, I'm tech savvy illiterate.
Me too.
A dumb tail when it comes to savvy stuff, but we're working on it.
Because every time I text him, he tells me to call him.
Well, yeah, I ain't gonna text you. That's most time I'm sitting with something like this or got glue on my fingers or something. And I'm gonna tell you a glue that we're using. Freddie already knows it because we use it on our gold mining. It's called E6000. It's a waterproof adhesive. We use it on our wetsuit.
Look at Freddie.
Hips, knee. We make knee pads out of it. It's tough, it's strong, and it's waterproof, guys. And you can buy it at Walmart. You can buy it at just about any store.
You can get big tubes or little tubes. James got a big tube. I got a little one right here.
Yeah.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
There you go, Daniel. Ernie Brown just dropped the Facebook profile there for you.
There you go.
Appreciate it, Ernie.
He's got them in different sizes, different packaging, different colors.
And now I do have a page on Facebook. It's just Patriot Custom Floats.
Yep.
And I didn't set it up because they want money to run it as a business page. So, you know what I say about Facebook.
Yeah.
Farce. I know.
Farce. Full of crap.
Yeah. And see, we were talking about it earlier, so I've got one of the old school ones. I got the older ones. Where that right there.
That's the trip. I love them old ones though, man. That was I love them.
They still work just as good as the new ones.
Well, the light gets a little water in them, man.
Yeah, a little water in those.
Yeah.
But you know, and it don't matter whatever float you want to use, guys. If you want to get a Flores float, or if you just like Danny was talking about, tying a Coke bottle to it and throwing it out there, just use. Don't be scared to fish outside the box or think outside the box.
Yeah.
Don't be scared to try those things.
It
don't sound right.
Yeah, a float period. If you haven't tried it, from whether you from the bank or from the boat, you need to try it because you would be mighty surprised of how much different it works, but also how great they work.
Well, they're so versatile too.
Yeah,
I mean, you've
got Junior. Junior's made a video of how he uses his. I've made a video of how I use mine, and we both use them similar because I learned a lot of my tricks from Junior, but I've also changed it up to the way I like to fish with them. So, and again, there's many ways to use them, and there's some that we ain't even thought of yet. I'm telling you.
Well, I've got some shorts. I got my first short will be coming out tomorrow. On floats. I will be having a series of short videos on the different techniques that most of them I've learned from y'all guys, people in chat and stuff like that. Most of them I learned from y'all that I haven't even got to try yet. But the people that taught me these, I can trust what they say about them. I've seen the proof that they work that certain ways, and a lot of them are basically just some of the old techniques that fishermen have used for years.
Oh yeah. I do have one question for you, James, and buddy of mine. That's what we do sometimes when we go fishing. Would you make like the jug size ones, the longer ones?
I was fixing to ask him the same thing.
If I do, I would have to make them like the old school ones, like you've got, simply because the inserts are very specific. They're trying not to give it away.
Yeah, that's fine. No. But yeah, if you have to do the old school, that's fine.
Well, the inserts are a certain size, and they're clear. So the only way that you would get the light to penetrate that would be to have a longer, clear insert that can stand up to the damage.
Yeah.
and then you would probably have to use multiple lights in it to get that much light to fill it up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is just, it's not really just to light the whole thing up. It's just to where if I drop them off during the day and I'm not going to look at them until 2 or 3 hours later and it's already dark, I won't be able to find it.
Right.
Yeah. And even if it was just lit up on the tip of it, you'd be able to see that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, just make it like the float that you got right there, Kelly. You can make them like that with the light mounted on the top.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would be fine. You know, but I mean, I've looked at that, and trust me, I get tons of people wanting to know if I make them for pool noodles. I mean, for fishing noodles. And I said, man, you know, I really don't want to go into that right now. I'm covered up with what I got.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, it around my area, I guarantee you that'd be a big market. But man, it'd probably overload you.
Yeah, it's and I've looked, and you know, somewhere down the line, if I can find, the problem is that I can find the tube to put on the inside of it, but it's not, them acrylic tubes are not cheap, and nobody's going to want to pay for that. Yeah. They used to buy one that's made out of PVC and a foam noodle and a pool noodle, and it's cheap to do it that way. But in order to put a light inside, it's got to be clear. And the only thing that really stands up to it is acrylic that can stand up to the punishment and actually carry that much light all the way through it. Yeah. People ain't going to pay it for it. They're just not.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I've looked into it because I've had a lot of people, especially when I come out with the first one like you got, Kelly, that's got the light mounted on top. They was wanting me to make them, and I was just too busy. I just didn't have time to add that product to my list.
Gotcha.
But there you go. There's a product that they can make and put out there. Figure out how to do it and do it.
Yep. Freddie's already got wheels turning there.
Yep.
No, Freddie's too busy burning pictures and stuff for customers. So,
hey, that might be something I'm looking to then.
Hey, all you can do is do it.
We use them quite a bit. We do it. I mean, I know this is a catfishing show, and I know we talk about catfishing stuff, but when I go out, especially bass fishing or bait fishing, we'll put out noodles while we're doing it. We'll start when we launch from the boat. We'll find our structures. We'll put down the bluegill that we just caught off the dock or whatever, right off the ramp, and then we'll go and set our traps while we're heading all the way out. And then we'll be out there till 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, work our way back, and then we'll just check our noodles. And if the first one's empty, we'll go ahead and pull it up. We'll just pull them up all the way through.
Yep.
Well, we do it a lot. We'll find some like backwater spots around the river, or even some of the smaller creeks and stuff. And my grandkids, because it's hard a lot of times to get kids interested in fishing. Because if it's not, if you take them and you're catching fish like that, oh yeah, you got them. But if you're having to sit there and wait, 9 times out of 10, kids gonna lose interest. But what my grandkids love to do, we'll take my little John boat and just a trolling motor on it and go back into a cove somewhere, and you throw out 20 or 30 of those jugs, and it's nonstop action. And they love. I'll let them run the trolling motor, chase them down, and man, I tell you what, you get a kid hooked on fishing that way. Just get them started out with that jug lining, and then they'll get more interested in it. Want to do it with a rod and reel.
Yep.
I mean, it's a good starter to get a kid. It's some really action-packed, fishing time.
Yep. Yeah. You don't
want. Right there you go. That's testament right. Elliot Surf Ends, he fishes down here by me. He uses those floats all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, hey, look, guys. If thank you, Surf Ends. If you think about it, if I pulled up jugs for years, and I wouldn't keep nobody's fish, we'd just want to see what's on the cotton picking thing. But most of them ain't but 3 or 4 foot underneath the water.
Yeah. everybody here.
We buzzed up and down these waters and passed monster fish because we didn't see them on the bottom.
The guys who are the most productive jug lining around here, you'll rarely see them go deeper than 4 foot on a drop.
Yep.
And they're catching, I mean, they're catching big blue cats too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you run them long lines, you're going to end up getting them hung up in a stump or a daggone tree somewhere. And lose the fish and your daggum float. Guys, what time is it anyway? We've had a good show.
It's 7:30.
It is 7:30. Yep.
But I just wanted to jump in and talk real quick about that, and I'm going back out of here so you can finish up the show. I got a couple things I got to get printed again, and it makes too much noise for me to be on here. So appreciate you letting me jump in, Kelly.
Because most of what we talked about tonight was more in James' expertise area, and I wasn't throwing a whole lot into conversation, so I appreciate the backup, brother.
I got you.
Well,
but anyway, we'll catch y'all later.
Be good, Freddie.
All right, James. We'll talk to you soon.
Freddie.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, Danny, you give out a lot of great tips, though, when you're talking about river, man, that can be.
Well, I mean, you get me in my element. I'm kind of out of my element right now, but I'm usually more effective when I'm on the scene. When I'm on the river, you can't shut me up. You know, because there's always something I can see that I'm looking at that it's going to bring a thought to my head, and I'm going to go on and on. Ask Kelly. I mean, you get me on the water, I don't shut up. Everybody knows that. They call me the mouth of the Mississippi for nothing. But
well, he's usually out there. He's got his rods in the water, and if he's got the rods waiting, he's over there trying to hook a carp.
I always do.
You still using that? You still using that old nasty carp?
Yeah, I still got some of it. You'll be seeing some of that nasty carp this Saturday. But I've got fresh skipjack to go along with it.
All right. Tell James how old that carp is.
Crap, how long have I had it? Month and a half?
Month and a half.
Now, look here. I was out snagging carp. I was catfishing, and it was kind of slow. I thought, well, I looked at the camera, and I said, all right, what do you guys want to do? Do you want to go snag a carp? I mean, while we're waiting on the catfish? And everybody's like, yeah, sure. So I throw my treble hook rig that I've got fixed up on there. Throw it out. First throw, boom, there's a carp. Second throw, boom, there's a carp. And they're just eating it up. But these are little Asian carp. In Missouri, it's illegal to throw those back.
Yeah.
I mean, you could kill them and put them back. But, I mean, if I'm going to kill them, I just soon throw them on the bank and throw them in the water. I don't want that dead carp floating them down the river, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I had several of these carp laid up on the bank, and I came back the next day, and they were still there. So I started using for bait. The next day, they were catching more fish than they were when they were fresh. Okay? Now, keep in mind, this is when the temperatures never got above 32 degrees.
Right.
I fished that weekend, did pretty good with it. Come back the next weekend, the carp are still there.
Yep.
And they started to kind of, it's like a curing process, a freeze-dried curing process. But they were still held together, but they were still fresh because they didn't stink because the temperature never got above 32 degrees.
Right.
And the older the carp got, the more fish I caught and the faster I caught them. By the time it was done, man, I was pulling in 13 fish in 4 hours. And I mean, that was pretty good for wintertime fishing, you know.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Catching blue cats, channel cats, all of it. And as you know, those carp there that after a month of doing that, finally, the last time I went, I took one of those carp, same carp I've been using for a month, laying on the bank, and I cut a fillet off of it, took it off, and I'm still cutting off probably chunks about the size of a silver dollar.
Right.
And I'm still catching fish on that old carp. But because it never got above freezing temperatures, it doesn't put off an odor. It smells like carp, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm still using that carp.
There's an old man that fishes down there. He's a veteran, and I met him through Big Nasty and him. He fishes down there at the Busted Boy Bridge where the tournament's going to be. And he, you know what his favorite bait is? Rotten channel cats. He would catch them little channel cats, throw them in a bucket, rot. and he's caught 40, 50, and 60-pound blues on that rotten, stinking stuff.
Wow.
I'm talking about rotten that it will make you gag when he
Yeah.
opens the bucket.
Oh.
Well, see, I had no guy tell me that he used to catch those carp and put them in the ground and bury them for 3 days. Then dig them up and use them for bait. And he said after 3 days, he said something about that process of being in the ground that it makes them put off a certain smell or something. I don't know. He tried to explain it to me, but that was one of them old man tips. You know what I'm saying?
That's that. But that's that smell. If you get it on you, you can't hardly wash that mess off.
It ain't coming off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if it ain't coming off. Kelly, I hate to run on you, my friend.
Nope, you're good.
I've got to go take care of a few things, and but I've enjoyed it. Anytime you need somebody to come on, fill in a spot, I don't mind doing it. We'll talk junk like we always do and have fun.
Yep.
Danny, I enjoyed meeting you, buddy. And
Me too. And I wish I could have contributed more tonight. I really do.
You're good, Danny. Hey, you were perfect tonight.
But you guys were kind of out of my area of expertise because I'm fast water, big river, and we start talking about spawning bluegills and crappie and stuff like that. It's just like way out of my area of expertise, and I'd be lying if I tried to play along and act like I knew something about it.
Danny, I mean, it's not that we're talking way out of your league. What we've been talking about is the spawning and stuff. That's the same thing as in your rivers.
Yeah.
It's just being able to read it off the bank.
Right.
That's what I do. I fish rivers. That's all my lake is. It's Cumberland River. It's just a big, huge lake made out of a river.
Well,
and you told us, Danny, where we needed to look if we fish big rivers and wanted to find spots like that.
Right.
You let us know that.
My favorite time of the year is in the hottest summer nights. I'll go to the river and you'll find spots where it's coming off of a tributary and the water just ripples and you can see it fast flowing ripple, and then all of a sudden it just slows down into a big pool.
Right.
And at nighttime you can actually hear those catfish coming up in that shallow water and flopping and splashing around. But you throw in that shallow water, let it drift down there, and man, I'll tell you what, it's fish after fish after fish at night. I'm going to show y'all this year. I'm going to do a whole bunch of all-night episodes this year. And I'm going to do live stream on it. So we'll be doing some all-night fishing, and I'll show you those spots.
That'd be great information.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for a lot of the guys that fish the Mississippi or other big rivers. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah,
well, we're going to have some fun this year.
Art on a river like that. I would not. It would be so intimidating to me. I wouldn't even know where to start. I would be like, I'd have to go back and think about what y'all said on the videos, talking about the eddies and the wing dikes and stuff like that. That's where I would have to start because I wouldn't have a clue.
No.
Well, see, I've got like in the area I fish, I've got hundreds of locations where I know that produce fish.
Right.
And I know where to go for blue cats. I know where to go for the flatheads, and I know where to go where the channels. That's just from me fishing those spots since I was a 16-year-old kid. I'm 56 years old now. Yep. So I've been fishing those same spots for 40 years. And over 40 years, I know the spots where those fish are always at that time of year.
Right.
And we're going to share a lot of that with people this year.
There you go.
There you go.
Appreciate
everybody coming in here. Appreciate y'all sharing the love, sharing Danny out. Let's get his number. Let's get some love to him.
Yes, sir.
Definitely. Let's thank Mr. Patriot James for coming on and hanging out with us. Definitely want to have him on more and more to pick his brain, especially when it comes to old school tactics and just reading the lakes, especially some of the lake guys that are watching this, kind of help them out. But we've held quite a few people in here, so I appreciate that, everybody coming in here.
Well, Kelly, I appreciate you bringing me, buddy. I enjoyed it anytime, and I hope I didn't run my mouth too much and make Danny feel like he is out of place. I just
No. Hey. It would have been really boring if you had been not. I said, thank God he's here, or we're in trouble.
No, and I had already had James in mind before I even pulled you in, Danny, because I knew I needed I've been talking to James for what? We've been talking for a week now about this.
Yeah.
So this is something I've been working on for about a week. Is I wanted to do this kind of show. I want to get back to this stuff, and then I've been talking with some other people. I want to bring in people like you, Danny, bringing you into the show that are coming up into our community or starting to gain more momentum and help you out or help somebody else out. Give back.
Well,
that's my giving back.
Okay, well, I appreciate it, man, and you're doing a great job with it. I'm wanting to get a little more time of people watching me and get some of that under my belt. And I'm gonna show some people some really cool stuff this year, and they'll want to talk to me after I show them what I'm gonna do. You know,
there's Mark from Catfishing Crappie.
Yep, better late than ever.
Yep.
Yeah. Said I watched that
Mark
Danny guy. He's in trouble. He is trouble.
In my element, buddy. I tell you what.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and Kelly, that might be something you could do next time. Is old school tactics of river fishing.
Yep.
Bring Danny back in and bring in another guy that's a big time river fisherman, and maybe concentrate on those tactics.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get. I'm probably gonna get a hold of you, get some of those floats, because I want to do an episode of what we talked about, where I throw that float out and work them eddies with that float and show people that you can catch catfish at 3, 4, 5 foot depths in a 20, 30 foot hole.
I would love to see that.
And
absolutely.
I ain't gonna lie to you, we're gonna hook a lot of gar. But we'll get some good catfish too.
Fish is fish. That's actually me and a friend of mine that live here. We actually were thinking about targeting them.
Oh, we do.
Fun.
We do.
Yeah.
That's how we discovered actually that the catfish were hitting at 3 and 4 foot depths, because we were actually targeting gar. We could see the gar. They'll come up top, and their tail will come out of the water, and they'll swim to the top, and they'll dive down and come back up again.
Yeah.
They stay right at the surface. So we tied a 20-ounce soda bottle in there, dropped the hook down about 2 foot, put a big chunk of cut bait on it, threw it out there, and sure enough, that gar, he'd pick it up, and you just slack line him for a long time and let him run for it. And after about 5 minutes, you close that bail and you set that hook on him.
Yeah.
But we did that one time, and it wasn't a gar. And it started peeling drag, and man, we pulled up a 38-pound blue cat that came up and ate a piece of cut bait that wasn't suspended 1.5 feet, 2 foot off that bottle.
There you go.
And that really caught us off guard.
I mean, gar's fun to catch. That's a fighting fish.
Oh, yeah.
I remember my first gar I caught out of our lake down here, and it scared me to death because I was a little kid and had no clue what it was, except for my uncle running going, "Where's my knife? Where's my knife? Cut that line. Cut that line. Get it off there."
Hey, Brian B.
Yeah, well, Brian B's been in here for a while.
Yep.
I just now saw him. I'm sorry.
Oh, you fine.
But
Fat Boy Eric, I saw that on my phone. Swamp Donkey catfishing has been on fire right now. They've been catching a lot of fish tonight. So
dude, they're amazing.
Definitely, when we're done here, go check them out. Somebody can drop their link. Go check them out, and then also don't forget Muskrat's on at 8:00 tonight. Him and Creo. So definitely go over there and show them love, and also Swamp Donkey catfishing. Definitely, especially they're on fire right now catching fish.
Well,
definitely want to go over there and raid their chat.
Their
new upcoming husband and wife team.
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
Oh,
they're gonna rise up real quick, because I'll tell you what, they do great content. They catch a lot of fish, and they're fixing to start grabbing a whole lot of attention from people. I guarantee it. Take it to the bank.
And they're down south from you there, James.
Oh, I hear you. I'll go check them out. I sure will. I appreciate that, guys. Gotta run. God bless y'all.
Right.
Bless America, guys. I'll see y'all. I'll give you a holler, Kelly.
All right. Appreciate it.
We'll see.
All right, guys. We'll get out of here, and we're going to shut her down. Danny, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I got to pack my laptop all up stuff and get it back to the house, and my supper was ready an hour ago.
All right, guys. Appreciate y'all coming in here and hanging out. Make sure you go there and share the love with Swamp Donkey Catfishing and Muskrat and Creo here at 8:00. So
absolutely,
we will catch you all on the flip side. We'll see you. Bye.
Kelly, thank you, buddy. We'll see you.
Oh, you're welcome, sir. Welcome anytime.
All right, bye.